Hello. Let's talk about intelligence support activity, ISA. Have you heard of ISA? Of course you haven't. Most people haven't. That's because ISA is the most clandestine unit in the U.S. Armed Forces. ISA is under the command of Joint Special Operations Command, and JSOC, as it's known, is a component of U.S. Special Operations Command, or SOCOM. So you have SOCOM commanding JSOC, which commands ISA. Now, ISA is so secret that the Pentagon denies it exists and also puts out tons of disinformation about it. So it's the Pentagon puts out fake names such as mission support activity and Gray Fox and all sorts of things. All we know about ISA is that it collects intelligence. It collects both it collects human intelligence, or HUMINT, and signals intelligence, or SIGINT. And the members of ISA are trained special operators, and they are trained specifically in infiltration, clandestine operation within groups, and they have the most high-tech equipment available to conduct their intelligence gathering. There have been many predecessors in the various branches of service, but ISA serves the entire armed forces now, and that's why it's under Joint Special Operations Command. So it's a special operations unit, but nobody will talk about it. So anybody who tells you about the organization and all of that, they're talking out of their butts, because nobody knows about it. The only people who know about it are the ones who've been in it and the ones who command it. So add another unit that was at Donald Trump's disposal when he was facing the greatest national security crisis that our country has ever faced, which was the attempted theft of the election. So okay, there's an old line, we had to withhold this information to keep the American public from panicking. Well, the American public can take anything. They took Pearl Harbor, they took the Spanish flu, they can take anything. What makes them panic is being unable to wait until they get concrete information. And that's what's happening now on our side. Apparently, I'm the only person on our side who knows that Trump is putting out tons and tons and tons of disinformation, the way the Pentagon puts out tons and tons and tons of disinformation about ISA, intelligence support activity. We don't even know the size of the unit. It's a few hundred men, and we don't know where they come from. As is customary, the information being put out there, the disinformation, is contradictory. So it's very easy to keep from being fooled if you don't draw any conclusions. Now, I've given you my theory about what I think happened, how I think Trump prevented the theft of this election, but it's just a theory. The only thing I know is that Trump's closest confidants are telling the people who matter that Trump will have a second term. Today, Mike Pompeo became the first American Secretary of State to visit a Jewish settlement in Israel. And he gave an interview in which he, or maybe it was just remarks, but anyway, he said that the United States is and will continue to be a great friend to Israel. Now, if you look closely at his remarks, he's saying pretty much flat out that Trump is still going to be here. And Netanyahu greeted him with a huge smile on his face. And, so I'm not worried. I'm not worried about, I mean, we're seeing a lot of panic over what is nothing. The Trump legal team distances itself from Sidney Powell. Well, the Trump legal team had a press conference where Giuliani and Sidney Powell covered exactly the same topic. So the Trump legal team has not distanced itself from Sidney Powell. She is not representing Trump. She's not part of the legal team. She's never been part of the legal team. She hasn't been thrown under the bus. So what Trump's legal team and Sidney Powell did was they very cleverly told the truth, and it made everybody on the other side go, ha ha ha, he sunk. And unfortunately, it made people on our side go, oh, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. And, Trump is putting out tons of disinformation. And this is necessary because the stakes have never been higher. The stakes have never been higher. Just look at what Biden's people are promising. You don't have to wait for Biden to be sworn in. Beginning Wednesday, Los Angeles County is shutting down all restaurants. As the county itself pointed out, the latest surge is a result of private get-togethers, not restaurants. The reason they're closing restaurants is to put private industry out of business so that the entire state can essentially be taken over by everybody involved in this who wants to spread into the hospitality business, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So what the people who are trying to steal this election do is they take over everything. And this is actually a form of fascism called corporatism, where the government chooses which companies live and which companies die. And what they've done is they've merged corporatism and Marxism into this crazy amalgam. And it's our future if Biden is sworn in. I mean, they've been very clear about it. And of course, there's climate change. It used to be said that the holy grail for controlling a population was government health care, but it didn't work out that way. So the holy grail for controlling the population is climate change, because you essentially outlaw, you determine where people are going to live, you outlaw cars, what you do is you create the cities of Soylent Green, the movie Soylent Green with Charlton Heston, which is a brilliant film. And in that film, the cities become the only place where people are legally allowed to live because of overpopulation. Now, the overpopulation panic is essentially never going to happen because the technology we're developing is helping us preserve the environment while allowing for a great expansion of population. And even countries that we never thought would get on board are finally understanding that they can't fish the waters dry. They can't kill all the elephants. Um, they can't burn down all the rainforests. And of course, if as you've noticed, none of the tech billionaires have offered to buy, you know, have offered to pay the people burning the rainforest to not do it. They need a rationale to impose, the climate change Soylent Green model on us. And in the movie Soylent Green, it was illegal to leave the city limits. Outside of the cities, there were no dwellings. There was nowhere to go. And if you managed to get out of the city, you couldn't. I mean, you had to become a hunter gatherer, and you would be tracked and killed. It was illegal to leave the cities, and that's down the road at some point because they're already working on how to force us all into apartment buildings over where we work. And so that way we won't have cars and, we won't take vacations. And then they'll come up with, something like Brave New World, where they had a drug called Soma, where you basically took it and you had like a relaxing vacation in your mind or something. And so this is all what's planned for us, and it's not going to happen, but these are the stakes. So if Trump is using the most secret military organizations at his disposal, such as intelligence support activity, then he's going to lie about it. And Trump's legal team is going to lie about what's happening because the press is and everybody else, they're trying to convince themselves that this is a done deal, to the point where they're telling Trump that he's obstructing everything by not resigning right this minute. And the hysteria over transition. Why won't you talk to Biden? Why won't you meet with the transition team? All that stuff. That's I mean, if you actually look into that, it's quite useless because Biden plans to junk everything Trump did, and you know he's got everything that he wants to impose. So having or his puppeteers have everything they want to impose. So I mean, Biden tried to explain that he's going to use the National Defense Act to essentially nationalize all industries and tell them exactly what to make. So there's no point in briefing Biden on things that he's going to immediately destroy. And he's going to destroy everything. Whatever Trump is doing is completely secret. And to make sure, what is it? A quote by Churchill. a bodyguard of lies? I want to thank Emily Murphy at GSA for her steadfast dedication and loyalty to our country. She has been harassed, threatened, and abused, and I do not want to see this happen to her, her family, or employees of GSA. Our case strongly continues. We will keep up the good fight, and I believe we will prevail. Nevertheless, in the best interest of our country, I am recommending that Emily and her team do what needs to be done with regard to initial protocols and have told my team to do the same. The General Services Administration, GSA, is an independent agency. It doesn't take orders from Trump. But since nobody except for me knows that, Trump is using universal ignorance to continue setting up his enemies. You've never heard of intelligence support activity because nobody has. I mean, some of us know that it exists, but the Pentagon has done a really good job of completely obscuring who it is and what they do. So, that's just one unit. Think how many others there are out there. Click.